What is up with it? We are back. This is going to be March 17th, a couple days after the ban list. I'm joined by Gionni. Gionni, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, glad to
Th-
be back with you.
yeah, thank you for coming back. Thank you for coming back. I needed this because I've been scrambling over the last couple days, man. The ban list was crazy. It was crazy. What are you thinking? How do you feel about the ban list? Let's start there.
I have mixed feelings. I,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they got some things right, I
Mm-hmm.
guess.
Mm-hmm.
Some things were a little unexpected, like the Raigo ban, of course.
Yeah, the Rygo ban was crazy. I didn't see a single person anywhere say
Yeah.
that they thought Rygo was going to get banned. Why do you think they did that?
I mean, like the only thing I can think of is that they are afraid to print good cards, good yellow cards, like the mid game cards that can clear the board, and
Mm-hmm.
because they're scared that Raigo is gonna be really good then.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can just sit at one life, clear everything, and go from there in NL, I guess. That's the
Yeah.
only reason I can think of. Like the card is not a problem right now. NL
Yeah.
is not a problem.
Yeah. The card is I mean it's a good card for sure, but again, like no one ever brings it up. I really feel like it has to be a future thing, right? Like maybe in OP12 there's like some crazy deck that like super abuses Rygo in a way we don't know. I'm not sure, but it definitely doesn't feel like a current problem.
Yeah, that must be the case, 100%.
Hmm. And what do you think about what do you like about the ban list? What do you think they did good?
Okay, I mean, Jimbe to me was an okay hit to Doffy. I mean, you pretty much killed the deck, I guess,
Hmm.
mostly. But it's an alright hit. I would have preferred to just hit 2 cost each and see what how the meta develops after that. But it's okay to ban Jimbe too.
Hmm.
And I think Ice Age was a little unexpected as well. I don't think the card was a problem necessarily.
Hmm.
Uh, but again, probably just because of future implications with card they wanna print. That's probably why it got banned. And yeah, the thing that they should have done, in my opinion, was to at least limit the giant to one. Like at least limit to one.
Hmm.
Because to me two is too good, and like as soon as purple gets good, that card is gonna be so annoying to play against.
Oh, for sure. That card is unbelievably broken. It's gonna get hit eventually, I think. But I personally was in the camp. I was telling everyone before the ban list. I really thought there was no chance Giant was going to get hit on the list, honestly. Not because it doesn't deserve it, but just from like a selling product standpoint, like the West still needs both EB and 11, and then both the West and the East still need the purple black structure deck. And then I'm a conspiracy theorist. I really believe we're gonna get a purple yellow Luffy just to round out having every possible purple combination. So I just feel like going into the ban list, I had the mindset of like there's too many future purple leader things to sell in both the West and the East. Like it would be crazy for them to hit the best card that like keeps all those decks afloat.
Yeah, yeah, that's a valid point.
Mm-hmm.
But like from a player perspective, it's so annoying. I like it triggers me so much having that card in the game. Like that card makes no sense.
Yeah, that card is super uber broken. I gotta say, I'm not too upset about it because I'm really excited for a green purple Luffy. I think that deck looks like a ton of fun, and I mean it's gonna be a menace for sure, right? Especially hitting Doflamingo, hitting Lucci. Like in the West, I think we're gonna see maybe that deck do crazy, 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 crazy results, but where that's a little in the future.
And also the Gecko was
Mm-hmm.
a little like I like it was deserved probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like the card is too good, but I feel like it's a little late. Like we're heading into a meta where Gecko is not gonna be as great, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
feel
it
like that was. late to ban Gecko, but it's an okay ban. Like the card is standalone is really 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 good.
Yeah, the whole ban list feels a little weird because it's like we can look several months into the future, right? And we know that like everything that they like, I feel like our perspective in the West, it's got to be so weird as an Eastern player to like get this ban list and be like, Bandai, you know we don't play any of these cards anyways, right? Like there's 4 cards on the ban list and they play exactly 0 of them in the East, I feel like. So it's like it's weird. It feels like the ban list was like made really just for the Western audience and was made just to be like, hey, we want to kind of make the OP10 format a little bit different for the West. And like the East is obviously going through like a super crazy format right now where everyone's just playing blue purple or green purple. I think probably what it was is they felt like from the Eastern perspective, like it's too early to hit that stuff. We don't want to hit them before the West gets it necessarily. And I'm guessing they have ideas in their mind how they're going to balance it other than the ban list. Like I think the structure decks, I'm guessing they probably expect to shake things up a lot.
Ah, yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, true.
Yeah, because it does really feel like Bandai, every time they have been printing something recently, it feels like they've been printing things specifically to counter the things that they printed right before. Like they made Doflamingo, and then in 10 they gave like Blackbeard cards to like help deal with Doflamingo. Like very clearly I feel like Liberation and Kuzan were built to try and solve some of the problems of playing versus Doflamingo. And then like OP11, it feels like they like very clearly tried to print cards that dealt with those two strategies. You know, like the 8 cost secret rare Luffy being very good into Blackbeard. All these decks being pseudo 6k or 7k leaders. Definitely feels like they have like this idea in their mind that they're like, look, we're gonna print strong stuff, and then like the next thing we print will just like hopefully be designed to like deal with that strong stuff.
Yeah, it feels like we are entering the power creep loop
For
slowly.
for sure. Which I think they kind of realize, which is why they maybe announced the rotation. How are you feeling about the rotation announcement?
I feel like it's great. Honestly, it's just great. For newer players that are gonna be trying out the game, is great to have a rotation. Like I take myself as an example. I tried One Piece because it was new,
Mm-hmm.
but if like I had to try, for example, Yu-Gi-Oh or some other like Magic, I mean there is kind of a rotation there, but like these games for me were unavailable. It's just so much that you need to get into, but having a rotation feels better for newer players. I think it's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to completely agree. Um, and you know the best thing about it is that we're gonna be getting rid of 8 cost Kid. We're gonna be getting rid of Nami. Like, oh my goodness. Oh God, yes.
Wow, finally.
Get rid of these things that are like not technically a problem, but are just like your opponent does it, and you're just like Jesus. Like, wow, why?
Yeah, 8 cost Kid is still like the most busted card from 8 OP1. Like every deck that doesn't deal with it, you just instantly lose.
Yeah, you
There is nothing
lose.
you can do.
It's like green has like the 2 cards in the game, I think, that most exemplify like, hey, if you don't deal with this the turn it's played, you lose the game on the spot. And I think that has to be 8 cost Kid and 9 cost Zoro, right? And of the two, I think Kid is probably the one that people are more bothered by, obviously.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm excited about the rotation. It's also super crazy to think that like I think they announced that the rotation and the global simultaneous release are happening basically at the same time, both April 2026. So that's going to be such a crazy time period for One Piece, right? Like we're not only going to be combining formats, but both formats are also going to be like shaving off 4 complete sets. Like, I feel like the innovation and everything going on at that time is just going to be incredible.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like there is it's a little boring getting passed down metas. Like, in my opinion, there is not that much innovation you can do. So I'm really excited. I think there is a lot of potential with this.
Yeah, I agree. Like, even right now, you know, the what we're dealing with in this very moment is probably very small in comparison to like how much innovation there's going to be allowed, like once the formats combine and there's a rotation. But even right now, I don't know what your last couple days have been like, but man, I've been scrambling. I've been trying like every deck under the sun. Like, I feel like there's so much room just with, you know, a small thing like losing 4 cards, right? Compare that to what we'll eventually have, and it's going to be super exciting in my opinion.
Yeah, right now it's a jungle for sure. There's like so many decks to try, so many decks that can work. Like, it's really exciting for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So how would you grade the ban list? An A, an F? Well, overall, how are you feeling about it?
Like, A is the best they could have done.
Yeah, A is the best.
I think B is fair. Like,
B?
it's not like yeah, I think it's okay. Like, it's not the best they could have done in my opinion, but it's an okay ban list for me in my opinion. It's B tier, B tier.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. I think I'd have it somewhere around there too. I'd have it somewhere around there too. Okay.
What would you have banned? Like, is there any card you would have
So,
banned?
okay, so cards I would have liked banned is completely different than what should have been banned. Like, ACOS Kid, ban that card right now.
I mean,
But like, realistically, like things that could have had happened that didn't happen. Honestly, I really expected Doflamingo Leader to be banned instead of Jinbei. I'm actually not sure which I prefer. Like, them just banning Jinbei instead of the leader has made things a little bit more complicated for me, because it's like, obviously I have a huge love for Doflamingo. I would say I'm a person who generally doesn't really get emotionally attached to decks, but Doflamingo being, you know, my first win, like, it's if they just take away Jinbei, I'm gonna spend some time trying to cope on it, right? Whether it's good or not. So it's hard. I think overall, I think they did pretty much. I have no real notes, honestly. Like, the Raigo hit is weird. I'm actually pretty glad they hit Ice Age. I was really surprised by that. Like, I thought my expectations for the ban list personally were Gecko and Dofi leader. And they hit Dofi just by banning Jinbei, which I think is fair. And then they hit Gecko, God bless. And then they also hit Ice Age and Raigo, which were 2 surprising things to me. I know a lot of people were really expecting Ice Age, but I don't think really anyone expected them to hit both Ice Age and Gecko in the same list. And that really surprised me for sure.
Yeah, because they basically kill black decks other than, like, as of right now they are unplayable.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's a little nugget to talk about as we get into this ban list. I'm interested to hear that, because there's been some people, and I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter, you know, namely Cross, who are adamant that black is not dead. So maybe we'll hold that for when we get to those leaders.
Okay.
But yeah, do you just want to hop into the tier list? I'm excited to start talking about it.
Yeah. Let's open it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so here, did I share my screen with you? I don't think I did. Here, let me share it.
No, not yet.
All right, there we go. Are you able to see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I just have like five tiers, likely BDIF contenders. So these would be the decks that we think like will be top of meta, right? So if you think about like this format that just happened, maybe like Doflamingo, BY, Lucci were probably like the three best decks, right? So kind of in the realm of there. Sneaky top picks, maybe decks that we think like maybe could creep into here, but it's going to take some real cooking, or maybe they're just like pretty good, you know, maybe like Pluffy, Bonnie, Shanks, Teach last format, you know, '09 format. Could be good. Maybe these are like the decks that like maybe can creep into a top cut. Maybe like RP Luffy, the way that people thought of RP Luffy last format, where like, you know, it topped here and there, but like it never got that close to winning a tournament. Locals fun, you know, whatever. I don't know, your icebergs of the world or whatever. And then LOL. You know, you can waste your time however you want, but maybe don't do it with the decks in this format.
Yeah.
Is there any tiers that like I didn't have here that you think should deserve a slot, or any clarification for any of these before we jump into it?
No, I think this is fine.
Okay. Okay. So should we just go in order, or do you think we should start by trying to pick out the decks that we think could be up here and then like build it off of that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We can
Okay.
start from the BDs.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna throw in an easy one. Maybe we try and take turns, and then
Okay.
we'll see how that goes. The easy one that I think like most people is like Teach, right? Like everyone thinks like, oh, Doflamingo is hit or worse or whatever. Teach maybe could step into best deck. What are your thoughts about Teach?
I think Teach definitely deserves this spot. I think it's gonna be meta defining.
Mm-hmm.
One of the meta defining decks. The thing with Teach is that like if the meta develops into a lot of aggro, it's gonna be more difficult.
For sure.
But like the meta developing in aggro decks, it's because of Teach. So you cannot put that
Mm-hmm.
any lower than mid contender, in my opinion.
Yeah. I have to agree. I think there's a lot of people who their gut reaction to the ban list is, oh my god, Teach is like gonna be so broken now. Like they hit everything besides Teach. Like Teach is gonna be like two format warping. It's gonna be tier 0, whatever. I personally don't have those fears. I think Teach has some serious weaknesses to certain type of aggro decks, and a lot of those aggro decks were just completely unplayable because of Doflamingo. I think Doflamingo and Teach kind of had this very symbiotic relationship where they covered each other's weaknesses. You know, Teach beating things like Lucci and BY, which Dofi struggled into more than most things, even if he didn't like outright lose. Whereas like Teach, you know, very much losing to more aggro strategies that we'll get into as we go through the list. But Dofi obviously like very hard gatekeeping those decks because it's just impossible to play aggro into full power Dofi.
Yeah.
So I'm not as high on the Teach bandwagon as a lot of people, but it definitely deserves to be in this top tier at least, I think.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you.
Mhm.
I think it's right.
All right. Is there a second deck that you want to put up in the BDIF contender?
Okay, I think I wanna put Pilufi in there. I'm pretty sure about it.
Purple Luffy. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what makes you feel like Purple Luffy deserves a spot up here?
Okay. Of course, losing Doffy,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna matter because it was one of the worst Pilufi matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I think straight up the one cost spell is too good and it gatekeeps a lot of aggro
Mm-hmm.
actually,
Mm-hmm.
and you win against Shanks,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot against Shanks, which is gonna be another contender in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So the only weird matchups are like Bonnie
Mm-hmm.
and Teach, but I think that you can play into those as well. So I will rate Luffy in likely BDIF just because I think it wins against most of any other decks right now.
Yeah, I think Purple Luffy for sure deserves to be up here. It's actually a deck that I think is like kind of fun and interesting. I'm just gonna let everyone know right now. I think there's probably almost no chance that I personally play at this format. I kind of would love to, but my real issue with Purple Luffy, almost regardless of how good it is, especially honestly if it's really good, is that the stats say that like if you play the mirror, it's 80-20 for who wins die roll. And I don't know if I could ever in good conscience sleeve up a deck with that sort of discrepancy in the mirror, right? It's like you sit across from your opponent, they flip over the Purple Luffy, you flip over the Purple Luffy, and I just don't want to be a 20% dog just because I lose the die roll.
Yeah, that's rough for me as well. I think that like for me to pick P Luffy, it needs to be the best deck, like uncontested.
Yeah.
Like mirror saving that is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's really scary for sure to just leave your hand and leave your fate in those hands, right? The next deck that I wanna bring up that I don't know. This is maybe a little bit of a hot take, but it's, to be honest, it's the deck that so far of my limited testing, it's been the one that I've actually appreciated the most. Of course, we're only like a day or two in, but that's gonna be Zoro. I feel like Zoro low key cooks. Have you thought much about Zoro? What are you thinking?
I think Zoro gains a lot from this, and it's a strong deck for sure. Needs to be. I think I need a little bit more testing into those Oni matchups, three matchups to really figure out how the matchup is. But Zoro definitely has potential for sure. Like I think you just destroyed each, right?
Yeah, just destroy. I think it's like way harder for Teach than even like Dofi ever was.
Yeah, for sure.
So it sounds like maybe you would put it more like here.
Yeah. As of right now, I would put it in sneaky top pick.
Okay. I'm down to have it here. I will say, just to me, I feel like Zoro has a lot of really strong tools, and I feel like it lost a lot of its worst matchups. So I'm feeling I really like Zoro right now. We'll see. That easily can change by the end of even today, right? But what would be your fears for Zoro? Like, why do you feel like it couldn't be up here? You think it's like the Bonnies of the world, or what do you think might gatekeep it?
Yeah, I think like there are some cards that are hard to deal with, and some colors as well. I think Bonnie might be good into Zoro. I'm not 100% sure because I haven't tested it, like never. But from what I hear from my other top players, is that matchup can be rough. And as well, I played a little bit of Pilufi Zoro. I think Pilufi, if you see like a couple of one cost spell, you're good in that matchup as Pilufi. So that's what I'm worried about as of right now for Zoro. But the deck, like again, 100% has the potential to get there if the meta is right for it.
Yeah, completely agree. Any other decks you want to throw up in likely BDIF?
I think Bonnie deserves it.
Yeah,
Bonnie deserves it.
I agree too. What are you feeling about Bonnie? Why do you think it should be up there? Do you have any concerns of why it might not deserve to be up there?
I think Bonnie has straight up like really good tools like all around against pretty much every matchup. You have good cards that can just crush the matchup. You have 8 cost Kid, you have 9 cost Shanks, 10 Luffy, you have like a lot of those cards that are really good, and you lose the gatekeepers basically. Like there are no Morias, no Ice Age, no like Doffy to a certain point could have been rough against a matchup with Bonnie. And yeah, I think there is a lot of deck building potential as well. So I think she deserves this spot.
Yeah. I have to agree. I think she's really good. Genuinely, I think she's really good. My fear, because I do think she has tools versus almost everything. Like the 5 cost Smoker and the 3 cost Shigi are some great new cards, while also, you know, losing some of those gatekeepers in Dofi and Lucci. My biggest concern for her is like how much of the meta share is going to be taken by Teach. Just
Yeah.
talking to some Bonnie players, it sounds like that matchup is really really hard. Like I was speaking with one of the Bonnie players that I respect the most, and I asked him, "What do you think is harder, like O9 Lucci or OP10 Teach?" And they were saying they think maybe OP10 Teach is even harder, like with the coups on and just being able to turn off everything.
Mm.
So that's a big concern for me. If I were to sleeve up Bonnie, is like losing a Teach sounds like it would feel really bad.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I saw some people saying Bonnie teaches about 50. I don't know, like to me it feels so heavily. Like that's the one matchup. Like Bonnie, like most of the matchups,
Hmm.
you are good. You're not under 50-50.
Yeah,
But the teach one feels really, really bad.
yeah.
Like you need to go first. You need to hit your curve.
Hmm.
Unless other than that, you're basically not playing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was trying Bonnie myself, actually before the ban list came out, because I just assumed that Lucci and Dofi were going to be hit, and I was like trying to try all the things that like could be good in a world where that happened, just assuming that's what happened. And I was trying Bonnie, and I was having fun, and things were going really well. I was like, wow, I feel like this deck is like super strong into all of these other decks. And then I played a few games versus Teach, and I was like, I don't even know how you could like flip this matchup. And I went
Yeah.
and I read through all the green cards, and I was like, I don't even know how you could tech for this. Like I don't even know what you could do. Like it just seems so hard.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so now my pick. Who okay, let's see. Do I go for the what might be an easy pick, or do I go for the shisty one? I'm gonna go for the shisty one. I think it's possible Doflamingo could still be up here. It's like maybe more here, but I think it's possible. What do you think?
I think it has some potential.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, you have to find the way to win again against P. Luffy and Shanks, like those matchups,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Yeah, those would be the.
If you find
Mhm.
if you find a way to win against those, you're back to Doffy, basically. Be good.
Yeah, I completely agree. Those are the two things that I have concern about is P Luffy and Shanks. It's kind of weird. The ban list like kind of flipped how Doflamingo feels, right? Like before it was like your opponent flips over Luffy or flips over Shanks and you're like, "Oh, free win." Um, and then you were worried about like BY and like Lucci, right? Not to say that those matchups were like actually that hard. Like I know we both agree that Lucci was like 50-50 and like BY was like slightly unfavored, but not that bad. Now it's like you lost, theoretically at least, those two matchups, and then now you're kind of maybe losing versus the two decks that before should have been really easy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is maybe like more here, but honestly, this leader skill is still so crazy. Like just being able to play, you know, a warlord off the top of your deck for one Dawn is just inherently really crazy. He still has a lot of his good plays outside of the super explosive stuff. Like just thinking about myself having, you know, over 1,000 games on Doflamingo, there's plenty of games you're able to win even without Jinbei. You know, if you're just able to like get teach and play and that helps you cheat bodies, or maybe you just go like super plus with like boas and weevils, like it's still, I could see a world where it ends up this, because he does still have tools like versus Shanks, maybe being able to tech like a red rock, which could also help you versus like teach.
Mhm.
Maybe like versus purple Luffy, you can throw in like Mihawks or Kaidos. Like I think there's there's something that could still be there. It's to be determined, but I'll have it here just because losing Jinbei does hurt a lot.
Yeah, I agree. The deck still holds, like for sure. Like 100% the deck still holds.
For sure. I think I personally only have one more deck that I can think of that I would put in possibly BDIF. Do you have one, or do you have zero, or do you have more than one?
I have one as well.
I'm guessing we're both feeling Shanks.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guessing, yeah.
Yeah. Shanks for sure, right? Like I think you can make an argument he's the biggest winner of the ban list. What do you think about that take?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. He gains a lot from the Banlist. Like straight up directly gains a lot from those matches
Yeah.
that were, I guess, eliminated.
Yeah. Both, Dofi and Lucci being like, theoretically, I think probably his hardest matchups. So, both of those being at least hit, decently hard, I think definitely helps Shanks. Is there anything that makes you feel concerned about Shanks? Like any reason why you think he shouldn't be absolutely number one BDIF?
Luffy, I think, and Teach. I mean, Teach depends on how aggressive you want to play Shanks. But yeah, then there is another thing that you need to talk about is that if you build a really aggressive Shanks, you might lose to the normal Shanks build. So there's another thing. So Luffy and Teach, I think those can be rough. Luffy for sure, 100% is gonna be rough. Really rough matchup for Shanks, in my opinion.
Really? I feel like that's not something I've heard very much. I feel like most people I've heard, and I haven't tested the matchup too much, to be honest, but I feel like most people have historically said that like maybe Shanks is like slightly favored into P. Luffy, or it's like close to 50-50. Why do you think it's going to be so good for Purple Luffy into Shanks?
Giving when you hit curve with Purple Luffy and you go first, I think Shanks doesn't really have a lot he can do to win the match, like at all. The 6-turn turn is just too weak, and I'm gonna have like Zoro and Luffy Taro, Sangoro, or another Zoro, and it's too weak of a turn. In my opinion, it's like nothing can do to come back from there. After I hit the 9-cost Luffy rush. Like that sequence is really tough to beat as Shanks going second. And when Shanks goes first, I think it's more like 50-50, or Shanks is a little favorite. There are still some curves that Luffy can hit that are really good. I think like going second and playing Bonchan on 5, and then playing 9-cost Luffy on the next turn, that's still pretty bad as Shanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like when you go second with Shanks against P. Luffy, it's almost unwinnable from what I've tested.
Okay. Yeah. I could see it. I mean, Purple Luffy, when he's able to see his curve, is just like a menace versus basically everyone, right? Purple has actually a lot of really good tools. Like even versus something like Bonnie, like you might think like, oh, Kid should destroy this deck, but like really if that's like a big thing, like they can tech like Gamma Knife. Like the purple color is like pretty flexible, I would say, in a lot of ways. So I think if you're Purple Luffy and you know there's things that like you have to prepare for, I think you can probably build for those things.
Yeah, that's another thing as well for Purple Force.
Okay, so maybe we try and find, if we think these are the only BDIFs, let's maybe try and find a bunch of top sneaky picks, and we can kind of like talk about them all at the same time. So like I think Lucci is still possibly a top sneaky pick. Maybe Anel, probably not. Like Anel's probably closer down here, but we'll give Anel respect just because people always love Anel. What else do I think could maybe be good?
For sure.
Lim, you said?
Yeah, I think Lim
Lim?
has some
Okay.
potential.
Okay, Lim. Where's Lim?
Uh, yeah,
There's
you pass like on the right side, under this left.
oh my god, where is she?
Eh,
Where? I do not see her.
up, 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 up.
Oh, right there, right there. Okay, 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 okay. Okay, yeah, I think Lim could be up there. I think RP Luffy could be up there.
Smoker, I think is another deck that can be up there for
Which
sure.
one?
Smoker, the red.
Red green. Yeah, for
Red green.
sure. Red green smoker could be up here.
How do you feel about Bello Betty?
Bello Betty. You know what? I'll put Bello Betty up there. I'll put Bello Betty up there. We're fans of Bello Betty around here.
Probably Usopp. I need.
Yeah, Usopp. I think has to, right? Where is he? I just saw him. Where did he go? Oh, right here.
He's sneaking around.
I'm gonna throw Rebecca next to him. Maybe we can talk about that.
Yellow Kid. I think.
Yellow Kid. Yeah, I could see Yellow Kid deserving up there. I just saw him. There he is. You think Green Yellow Law could be up there, or you think maybe more down here?
I personally think the deck is pretty weak.
It's pretty weak.
But
Yeah. My main concern, I've seen some people be a little hyped about it. My main concern is like I don't know how you win the Teach matchup.
Yeah, but I mean, other matchups well, I think there are pretty tough.
In any hope for Nami to come back, or you think that like purple Luffy and like more aggro red is just gonna keep it lower?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really low. Like there are a lot of decks that are too aggro, and I as well hope that would be that way.
Yeah, I hope so too. Reiju, you think Reiju could potentially be up here?
I'm torn about Reiju. I think it has some potential. I'm not sure. I'm really not that sure because there are a lot of new matchups that I've really no idea how they go.
Yeah, like the main argument behind like Reiju moving up is like the greatest gatekeeper in all of history was probably BY Luffy into Reiju. Like this matchup was just like genuinely unwinnable for Reiju. Like I don't know how much you've played it from the BY side. There's like a moment in time I was trying Reiju and like there's just no like how do you even win? It's just like impossible. It feels like.
Yeah, no, I remember playing with BY, like no match is ever done, and I was still winning against Reiju, so that's how bad the matchup was.
Yeah, it's just you're too small, your Dawn is low, you don't have big characters, like they just go 9k and the game is just over instantly. So maybe we could have Reiju up here. Anything else stick out to you?
Maybe Boa. That's the only one I can.
Maybe Boa. Yeah, Boa was one of the ones I was eyeing the most when I thought like Doflamingo was gonna get banned. I'm not exactly sure how much the Jinbei hit really hurts Boa. I feel like it definitely sucks, but maybe it's still okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's not as bad as Luffy. Like not nearly as bad as Luffy. Over for Boa.
For sure. Any others that are sticking out to us?
Okay, we have like here in Italy we have a lot of guys that were trying Foxy actually before the Banlist.
Yeah, before the
And
Banlist.
Actually, it was like I have to say pretty solid deck. There are some players that played really well. It surprised me. It was really good. So that might still be the case. But of course, Luffy was a matchup that you wanted to see with Foxy. Now you don't see it anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah, you don't get to see Dofi anymore. It was also pretty decent into BY as well, is right? Or yeah. It was decent into BY. Do you have any idea how it does into these other matchups? I imagine Pluffy could maybe be hard.
Yeah, maybe I think like matchups that can play big bodies like back to back are hard to deal with because with Foxy you can only freeze one character and the leader. So if I play back to back big bodies, that's gonna be bad. So maybe it could be good Foxy now, and not sneak it up anymore.
Okay.
One of those. But the deck like surprised me, I have to say it.
Marco is another one where before the ban list was revealed, I was trying it. It was actually Marco is a deck that I really want to be good. To be honest, I think the leader effect is really interesting, and I think there's a lot of decision trees with like bottom decking and top decking that I think is really interesting. My problem with Marco for why I don't necessarily want to put him up here is I think for life you just blow up so easy to aggro strategies, and I don't know how you necessarily solve that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. That was my concern as well
Mm-hmm.
with the deck.
Mm-hmm.
But it has some potential. There are like now there are a lot of decks that have some potential and can actually see play. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Um, I don't think there's anything else necessarily jumping out to me that I would want to put into sneaky top pick as I'm looking it over. Is there anything else that you think could maybe be in consideration for a sneaky top pick?
No, I think this is good. Like maybe like a lot of like some people are arguing with the red green law, but I don't think it's gonna be that good.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one either. I would probably put it maybe more here.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, with these really older decks, like even Zoro, I always am like a little bit more skeptical. Like this, and this. These are like the three horsemen of like the players who have been around for a really long time. Always want to like gas them up whenever there's like some like a little small light of hope.
Yeah, true.
So it's like I'm always a little skeptical. Like Zoro is the one of like those that I'm like, oh maybe. Okay, but so Lucci, you said black is dead. You would I put this here? Would you have put this here, or do you think it's dead? LOL, dead.
No, LOL is a little bit tragic, but like at maximum, I think is could be good
Mm-hmm.
here,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. The thing that I don't get, that
Mm-hmm.
I really don't get, is that Lucci, I would have put him in sneaky top before the ban list,
Mm-hmm.
and after the ban list, like you hit the probably the two best cards of the deck, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't get how like that. I feel like it's unplayable now. Like
Yeah.
you can build around it, but the other decks just power creep you so much,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like Teach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are arguments that you can build around Teach, but you are building around Teach to play the matchup. Like you're only building around Teach. You're putting cards that would be bad otherwise. So I don't know about that one. P
Mm-hmm.
Luffy as well without Ice Age in the early game. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's really tough. Bonnie with no Ice Age, no Gecko. That's gonna be tough as well. Shanks, same thing. Like it's not as easy as a matchup anymore. Like it wasn't as easy before.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think it's gonna be really tough. So I don't know. I'm not sold on it. Maybe there some players can cook something with it, but I only see it getting weaker, and I thought of it weak before the ban list. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the main argument that people are trying to say is like you lost Ice Age and Gecko versus Teach. Gecko was already dead, so it's like you don't really care about that for that specific matchup. Because like your two hardest matchups theoretically are like Teach and BY, right? And Teach, like losing Ice Age actually does kind of suck because it allowed you to do things like as we saw when you and I reviewed your game versus Teach's Lucci, it allowed you to like Ice Age plus Finger Pistol, which was really strong on the 10 cost Teach. But so like you kind of maybe lose some there, but losing BY, which is like historically by far your hardest matchup, really like people feel like that will compensate for the fact that like you no longer have Gecko and BY, like namely Cross is the one who is like convinced that Lucci is still going to be really good. And I think the concept there that he and some other people that I've seen discuss is like, you know, Rebecca Hina Lucci is just always going to be broken, right? And you still have those three things. You're still 5 life. You still have a free reduction. So me personally, I also am not like super high on Lucci because I do really think like I'm not exactly sure how good you can have these 4 matchups without Gecko and without Ice Age, but I'll put it here just because my NA champion says that The deck is not dead.
Okay, fair, fair.
Anel, another one that I think is like a little bit more tentative up here. I honestly feel like it deserves probably more down here, but what do you think? Do you think it's deserving enough to be up here?
No, I think it's could be good. Like I agree with you. Raigo, like
Mm-hmm.
it's big, like gigantic hit for this leader. It just means that to me, every deck that has big bodies into big body into big body, you're dead. Like there is nothing you can pretty much do.
Mm-hmm.
As of like before, you had strategies where you starve and you play around that, and you have the Raigo to support you, so you can clear like a couple of bodies with those. Like now you cannot do that. The only strategy you can rely on is starving and Yamato and Getatsu, opponents big bodies, but most of the games you are not gonna be able to do that. So I think it's pretty bad now.
Yeah, I
And
completely.
we don't
Mm-hmm.
have Doffy.
And also what? Oh, no Dofi.
Yeah, and there is no Doffy anymore, so that's another thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think this deck, like, honestly, maybe we're being too generous on it. Like, maybe it's locals fun. Like Teach, I think, was already like a 90-10 matchup when you had Raigo. And I just have to imagine this is the most with Kuzan and without Raigo. Like, I have to imagine this is just like the most 100-0 matchup that's like almost ever been printed. Like, I don't even know what the path to victory for Enel could even be versus Teach.
Yeah, no, I agree. In my opinion, NL is like even low tier. Like, but I want to be fair. I want to be fair. So yeah,
And then
but it's been like this for a while.
yeah, and then like Pluffy was already hard, and like Bonnie, I feel like just like slams Zoro on you, and there's like literally not a single response your deck can even do anymore. So like I feel like Bonnie probably just like stomps Enel now too. Like I think already good Bonnie players probably beat Enel most of the time, but now it's like they play Zoro and you just insta scoop, right?
Yeah,
And then Shanks, like maybe Shanks is like the one deck that you can like maybe do okay verse, but again, like if they just like play back to back 10 drops, like you're crying, right?
yeah. Not I don't know what you
Yeah.
can do in that match.
Yeah, so RIPNL, he will not be missed.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay, so Lim. This is one that I'm really excited for us to talk about because ever since I read this leader, I've always felt like this leader has so much potential. Like, she has just generally, like, if you just remove the first line of text on her that says your characters come in rested, I think she's like the most broken leader in the game by far. Like, I think like that one line of text obviously is made to balance her, but just like the idea that you can play a 5 for 3 and you're also ramping for free at the same time, like just a truly broken leader effect, I feel like. But why do you feel like it can be sneaky good? Because, you know, ultimately you are still putting your characters in rested. You are for life. Green and purple, historically, not like an insane color combo. How are you feeling about Lim?
I feel like it can be sneaky top just because of the fact that Zoro as a character gets like really good after these bans, like
Mm-hmm.
extremely good in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And Lim basically plays around that card. Is basically Turbo Zoro,
Yeah.
more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And the only problem with that is that it's a bit predictable, and you have 4 lives. So there is potential, in my opinion, but there
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of things you will need to figure out in order to make this strong, like BDIF deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I would love to see some people cook with Lim. I think it would be really interesting to see if someone could really find a way to perfect it and find a way to bring it up to this tier. Okay, red purple Luffy. I feel like he should he should be a pretty decent winner of the ban list, maybe, right? Like he does pretty decent in the purple Luffy. He like Dofi could sometimes be harder for him. Lucci could sometimes be harder for him. He's historically had a really good Shanks matchup. I'm not exactly sure about Bonnie, but I could see a world where you're not doing bad into Bonnie. Teach is maybe still a little rough because you're so on play centric, but I feel like maybe you could build around that. How are you feeling about Red Purple Luffy?
I think Red Purple Luffy, out of all of these decks, is the one that's closer to BDIF potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the strong thing about Luffy RP is that you can build around pretty much every deck, I feel like. But that's the problem as well, because you need to make a call, because you need to know what you're facing, like what's the meta gonna be. And as of right now, it's difficult to predict that.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you can build a little bit more aggro for Teach, but then you can be struggling against Purple Luffy or against Bonnie if you're too aggro and you don't have like cards that like 7-cost Kid, for example, or cards like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main problem I have with Luffy RP, but I think it's like it has a lot of raw power as a deck.
Yeah, I agree. Of all these decks, I think it's very likely the one that's up here. I think it's like these three. I'm eyeing these three as like potentially could all be up here. And then Red Green Smoker. What do you think?
I think Red Green Smoker is like a Bonnie variation pretty much. And like it has some matchups it does better in, and some matchup it does worse in. I would say Bonnie is generally better than Smoker, so that's why I put Bonnie in BDIF and Smoker right under BDIF. For example, against Teach, you do better. You're a little bit more aggressive. You're more outs to play that matchup. Bonnie doesn't have that. But
Yeah.
I think you're gonna struggle a lot more against Luffy with Smoker than Bonnie. And like maybe against Shanks, you're gonna struggle more. And yeah, I feel like it's a little less solid overall over there than
Yeah.
Bonnie.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think like the main arguments for like Smoker over Bonnie are like, for sure your Teach matchup is like 1,000 times better. Like Smoker for sure does way better in a Teach than Bonnie, just having access to like rush cards, and then also like you get to cheat Dawn, so like that helps you be more aggressive as well. But then like everything else, you feel like this will probably underperform versus what Bonnie would do. The other argument for why you might want to play Smoker than Bonnie is just because the deck is cool. But but I don't like, maybe you're just like me and you're really excited to play Green Purple Luffy, and you're like, you know what, this is like almost like a budget awful version of Green Purple Luffy, so like, you know, maybe I'll just play that, right? Betty, how are you feeling about Betty?
I have to be honest, I'm not the most, like, I don't know the most about Betty, but I think she gets a lot from the band list. Like, that's for sure. She gains a lot.
For sure.
And,
I think
she's a, I would say, like, she's a really good, like, great aggro deck. Like, if you need an aggro deck, I think Bello Betty is the most aggro deck you can.
for sure, crazy aggro. I feel like of all, Betty has a lot of potential, man. She like, I think she probably is close with Teach. Maybe she beats Teach. I could see it. I mean, he does get to turn off your on plays, which does feel bad, but you still have 4-drop Ivankov as an activate main to put out a body, which is really strong. Like, I think you probably are beating Teach. You just have to find a way to maneuver it. Purple Luffy, I'm like 100% sure that you destroy Purple Luffy. Like, Purple Luffy just like blows up, actually. I'm pretty sure. Shanks, I think you can probably find ways to beat Shanks, but Shanks can probably find ways to beat you. And then Bonnie, I'm actually not sure what that matchup is like. So if we're just looking at like the top 4, I think Betty has like a fair amount of potential, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's gonna get force for the other decks, probably. But yeah, for those four, it can be a good pick for sure. Like you can cook with it and find the key in a lot of those matchups.
Mm-hmm. And then Usopp. I know your boy Luigi is a big Usopp believer, at least before the ban list. What are you
Yeah.
thinking about Usopp?
I think Luso lost a lot of his potential, both in the decks that he was good against and in Ice Age.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were not really playing Ice Age. I think it was insane in Usopp. I don't know why people were not playing it. I mean, we all of us were playing it, but Ice Age in combination with 7 cost spell and in combination with all the Kiros, Zoro, I think
Mm-hmm.
that was what made Usopp a BDF contender
Mm-hmm.
before the Banlist,
Mm-hmm.
because you had like matchups like Luffy, Shanks, RP Luffy. You're with Ice Age, you had outs for all of those matchups. And Teach as well. Ice Age in combination with 7 cost spell.
Mm-hmm.
And now that you don't have that, I think you're gonna struggle
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Usopp is weird because I think like his leader effect and his color combination is so good. I really feel like it's super possible that maybe people could still find a way to break him. Because like Rebecca on 7 is still like really nasty, and the stage is obviously really good in archetype. Um, I don't want to say the ban list kills him, because like a lot of people do feel like he lost like his best matchups, like his best matchups like got hit, and like his worst matchups are like better because of it. Um, so I don't want to say he's dead, just because I think there's still potential there, but I think it's going to be a lot harder for him for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of in conjunction, we have Rebecca. Rebecca, I will be honest, is the deck that I am most wanting to cope on right now. I think it's very unlikely she even deserves to be up here, but Rebecca being a deck that struggled very much in Dodofi and Lucci, as all decks seem to in the history of the game. I think, there's gonna be a little bit more of a pocket for her to be like the premier removal deck. Being both blue and black, being able to have access to things like Hound Blaze, 7 cost spell, like things that can really help versus your Teach matchup. As well as, drawing an extra card every turn is not bad. Like she's the deck I most want to cope on right now. I don't know if she's actually good, but do you think there's a path that Rebecca could deserve to be in this tier or even near the top of this tier? Or do you think it's complete cope?
I don't know. Like my problem with all of these kind of decks is that, like decks that thrive off of the removal, they need like really good reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And like Rebecca does not really have that right now.
Mm-hmm.
You have maybe your Loom Boost, you can build around that, but it's too costly, too slow right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like. The thing with Usopp is that you can build it as a tempo deck. Rebecca, you cannot build it as a tempo deck. You need to be a deck that locks down the opponent. I think you do not have the tools to do that
Mm-hmm.
against the best decks right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I would put her in the tier below this
Could be
as
good.
of right now.
Ah.
Yeah, yeah. But I could be wrong, like for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Like people
Yeah.
may have something to cook with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she probably does not deserve to be up here, but I would love to live in a world where she was near the top of here, because I do think like a black blue. I just want to play Sakazuki, bro. I never got to. I just want to. But life goes on. Yellow Kid. You said you wanted Yellow Kid up here. What do you feel like gives Yellow Kid the potential to be in this tier?
I think, first of all, Yellow Kid is the best yellow deck right now, in my opinion. You have a lot of tools to fight off aggressive decks. I think against aggressive decks, it's really good. And you have, like, other than Teach, you have tools to fight against the other 3 decks as of right now. I think that. So, I mean, you like a little bit of firepower,
Mm-hmm.
but it has potential. It can sneak a top. for sure.
Yeah. I think so too. I think the Teach matchup is definitely scary. But you have tools to maybe do okay versus these three, maybe sometimes.
Mm.
And then we kind of talked about these three like a little bit already. Okay, so anything here that you think deserves to be in the could be good tier? I feel like maybe purple black, like he did lose a couple cards, but he was a primarily purple deck anyways.
Yeah, actually, I think
Mm-hmm,
like that's gonna be an hot take, but I think Gecko was useless in that deck,
mm-hmm,
in my opinion. For how
mm-hmm,
I saw the deck and what made him good, I think Gecko was not useful. Like it was a value card in a
mm-hmm.
deck that I don't think you needed value to win. Like I don't think the strong thing about him was value, and it was really difficult to play him like full power because you didn't have any combos with it.
Yeah, not really ways to build your trash.
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
actually don't think it loses a lot from Gecko ban,
yeah.
in my opinion. So I think it could be good deck for sure.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe
Um,
pudding,
hmm?
Nickelodeon pudding,
Yeah,
one of those.
I think they both can be here. Both of these are like pretty decent strategies. Like, I think Pudding will probably blow up to like really aggro decks.
Yeah.
And maybe she has a hard time into Teach as well, probably. But like, I think you could maybe do okay to like versus Bonnie and versus Shanks. Like, you probably have like pretty decent matchups into those as you just like drop 10 moms over and over again.
Yeah.
And then Robin, you know, Banish is obviously really strong on a leader, being able to ramp. She could be good, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know
Uh,
what I would do other than that
mhm.
out of leaders.
I feel like maybe Calgara could be good. I think he's not a bad leader. Maybe he's just locals fun. I don't know. He's like not the worst thing ever, honestly.
Yeah, it can be on that tier. Yeah, I see it.
Uh,
BY maybe, I don't know.
okay,
Maybe it's not.
maybe BY could. You think so? Even without Gecko.
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, the effects babies are still really good, and it's like you're still gonna gatekeep a lot with just those. I think probably, but yeah, I honestly don't know. Maybe I think like seeing the other leaders. I mean, BY can be on this tier list.
Yeah, you know what? Looking at these leaders, he definitely deserves to be in. Could be good. He's probably around the level of all these other leaders. Could be good.
No, actually, I have one. I think Uta. Uta for sure could be good. Like at
Green
least,
Uta.
yeah. And basically off of the fact that you're gonna play 8-cost kid with a lot of cards in hand.
Yeah, and you know we don't really have any blue decks up here, so you don't have to worry about getting puddinged. There's not like shouldn't be as much removal in the case of Lucci, so yeah, I could see an argument for Uta being and could be good. I feel like everything else might be locals fun or LOL. Maybe Vegapunk. Maybe Vegapunk could be good. Maybe.
Yeah, I have Enrico as a really good Vegapunk enjoyer.
Yeah.
And I don't know, yeah, maybe something can be good.
Maybe. I
Verona, I
don't.
have no idea. Verona, I don't know. Maybe. Anon no Gecko.
I'm willing to put Perona in. Could be good. Like maybe can sneak a top here or there. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean you can play around with the leader. Yeah, I think it still has some combos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Buggy, I never played Buggy, so I have no idea. But that's a leader they are talking about. I saw people talking about him.
Buggy. I
Maybe.
mean, destroys Teach for sure. I have no idea how his other match. Sure, we'll put him here just in case he's secretly good. We don't get flamed.
Imagine no one knew.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everything else. I almost wonder about Vivi sometimes. Sometimes I wonder about Vivi, honestly.
You think about her in the night?
Sometimes I think I think she has a sneaky good effect. There's been some good players before that I've seen say that Vivi's not that far off, but it's probably just locals fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there is ST21 is not here. I think that can be good for sure. Like could be good. Like it's a like aggro deck. It's a really like it's an okay aggro deck for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not exactly sure why you would play it over something like Zoro, to be honest. But like you could. You could.
ST21, not the.
No, yeah, no, I know. I'm just gonna use this as a placeholder for it.
Yeah.
Because they're like the same leader, anyways. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why you'd play ST21 over Zoro, but
like it's more like a mid-range deck, I guess. Other than like more mid-range than Zoro, but yeah, probably Zoro is better. But see, it's still a good deck. Like for sure, could be good.
Yeah, it's not awful. It's not awful by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's everything. Everything else we'll just put in LOL, unless you think there's anything that deserves to be in locals fun. Anything where you're like, it doesn't deserve to be the worst deck ever.
Yamato maybe.
Yeah, maybe Yamato.
I mean Yamato because it can be fun actually. So maybe that's locals fun. Like it's appropriate for that leader.
For that title, yeah, I could see it. You know what? Someone took this to Worlds, so I'm gonna put some respect on it. Yeah. You know what? I'll put Sugar up there. Sugar's not the worst deck ever from mine. I think Sanji, maybe if there's like a ton of Teach, maybe is also not the worst deck ever. Like if you're expecting like a ton.
Yeah, if you like to go to locals and just frustrate the Teach players, yeah, bring that for sure.
I think maybe blue yellow ace is not the worst. Oh, I've seen some people talk about Sabo. I think maybe something could be cooked with Sabo, honestly. Maybe.
Honestly, I have no idea.
I think
Honestly, I know no idea.
I think I think maybe.
Yeah. Actually, I remember I lost once to that deck in a regional. Actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it's not the worst deck ever, honestly. Like being able to give yourself a life and be aggressive at the same time is like, I think there's some things that have really helped keep it back, and I think, you know, I like really in the history of the game for the last 3-6 months, the real thing is like Doflamingo, Lucci, and BY just make like every strategy impossible. Like those three things are so oppressive to so many strategies that it's like you just literally cannot play them. And I think there's a lot of stuff that maybe we didn't even cover here. Like maybe secretly like some of these decks that we even put in like LOL, like maybe they even have potential because they're just like they had like a 0-100 Lucci BY matchup. So it was like you could never play it, but like maybe now you can, right?
Yeah, no. We give so many things for granted, but yeah, like now with Gecko, no BY, no Lucy, there is a lot to play, to try out. That's for sure. Yeah,
for sure. Any closing thoughts as we start to wrap this up?
I don't know. Like it's gonna be a jungle, guys. Like just push out. That's a lot.
Yeah, there's gonna. I'm excited. There's so much to explore. All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.